My name is Kip Wright. I was privileged to be the first pastor of Faith United Methodist Church. I made every mistake. I made some whoppers as well as some. And some people came and united with the church because of my leadership, and some people came in spite of my leadership. But we discovered early on that the real center of the church was Jesus Christ. And so long as we understood that and followed His leading, we would be okay. We might go places and do things that we hadn't planned quite so, but it would be okay because God was present and somehow He was leading. And there are so many moments and so many people. The names and faces flash through my mind even today, but I realized that I was very, very fortunate to be a part of it. I came to Tulsa in 1978 to start a new church in South Tulsa. I had no idea where it was going to be, except that Kip Wright was going to be the pastor. I sort of learned the details as I went along, one of which was the salary was paid by the conference for 3 years, and after that time, I was on my own. But the other thing was that from day one, we were responsible for paying apportionments to missions and enterprises of the United Methodist Church around the globe. And that was kind of exciting that they took us seriously. They expected us to be the church and to not just wait on a handout, but to find our own way. And the support from Tulsa area churches was incredible. Asbury was very, very important. They made the down payment on the very first church parsonage, included it in their budget. And pastors and lay folk alike from Tulsa churches, whether it's Asbury, which was our nearest neighbor at the time, or Boston Avenue, or Southern Hills, the pastors and the families, the people, were all cheering us on. Well, the very first thing after we moved here and found a place for my family and I to live, I just went up and down the streets of the developments that were out this way, knocking on doors and inviting them to a church that didn't exist yet. That's my first memory. It was hot that summer, but it was fun, and I drank a lot of iced tea. But I got to know some really special people who were new to the area as well. And even if they weren't interested in becoming a part of a new church, they were supportive and excited that it was happening. We realized early on that people were going to be involved in a church, and they weren't necessarily going to a Methodist church. They were looking for a church that met their spiritual needs. And it wasn't so much the label on the outside of the building, or if there was a building at all, but whether or not they felt that the presence of God was real in that place, and that Jesus Christ was what the people were about. And so many of the people that joined the church in those early years were not from a United Methodist tradition. And so I learned about the Methodist Church just in order to interpret it, because so many people had never even heard of the United Methodist Church, let alone been a member. And so it was fun, and we were richer for it. We didn't know what we were doing, and I certainly didn't, but we were excited and we were having fun. That was the thing that marked so many of the things that we did. We just had a good time together. And that Sunday, when Lester Meyer, the district superintendent, called the charter members up front there at Holland Hall School and chartered us as a United Methodist Church, it was amazing. We felt like we were on an adventure. And it proved to be that we were. Well, I appreciate so very, very much the families that chartered Faith Church. At the chartering Sunday, I specifically said that June Botger should be number one, and she was the soul of the church from day one. But there were plenty of people that did remarkable things. I was just along for the ride. I discovered that that God had placed some very, very special people. June and Robert Bodger, of course, and Hubert and Jerry Porter, and of course the 4 persons who went on to be ordained ministers, Sonny Plischke, Bob Johns, and John Williams, and Randy Pratt, and their wives and families. But all of those 12 families that chartered the church and those that came soon thereafter were remarkable, remarkable people, because we had nothing to offer but hard work. I think faith is special for me because we started from plowed ground and we started from zero. We didn't have anything, and so it gave us the opportunity, the special opportunity, to think what matters about being a church beyond buildings, because that's the first thing you think of when you think of church. And meeting at Holland Hall and having activities here, there, and everywhere, we got to think about, well, our centering needs to be on Jesus Christ, not on the buildings and not on numbers, not even on budget. If there were a common thread, it would be that we were very, very aware that we were part of something bigger than just ourselves, the church of Jesus Christ. Every time we gathered was special, from the time that you wondered if anybody would come to the time that where we're going to put everybody. But I remember a Good Friday service that we had at the parsonage, and we had communion, and we sat on the couch and chairs and on the floor and so forth, and gathered together, and we realized before we were done that it was more like the church had been through the ages than with pews and communion rails provided. It was just great. It was exciting to see that building go up, and mistakes were made. But the building committee was hard at it, and Gary Van Fossen designed a incredible building that had many, many purposes and was very flexible. The remarkable thing was seeing that building go up, and I alternated between thinking it's too small, and what are you going to do with such a big building? I went back and forth. I came down each evening to look at it, but. The surprising thing was that there were people waiting until we had a building, because attendance doubled our first Sunday in the new building. An incredible guy whose name escapes me designed that round window with the cross in the middle, and also the very thick glass, which he assured me could withstand anything. But the first rendering of that window did not include the cross, but I don't know who it was or whether it was the Spirit, but somebody, some way, we got the message there needs to be a cross incorporated in that window, and it became the focal point of the first building. And when that window was put in place, it was a special, special day, because it was so much more than we had anticipated. One of the things we did well was be inclusive. We did not let politics or sports affiliations or anything else get in the way of our enjoyment and our appreciation of the church and the Jesus Christ that it offers. It was I think one of the riches of this church, its diversity. People came from all faiths or no faith, and yet found in this church a place to worship and to learn and to grow, as did I. I want to congratulate Faith Church on celebrating the 40th anniversary, and I believe with all my heart and soul that God is doing exciting things with this church today and tomorrow and for the unforeseen future. And we'll just hang on to that thought. It will be an exciting, exciting time. I'm glad you're a part of Faith Church, and you are blessed.